What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another SGN video where it's all sim all the time. In today's video, I'm excited to bring it to you guys. This is my best sliders and settings video for MLB The Show 23. And just full disclosure, man, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've had more fun playing MLB The Show 23 than I had playing 22, 21, and 20. So not only am I really excited to bring you guys these sliders because of how much, I enjoy making sliders for you guys, but I'm enjoying this game more than I have in years past. And if I'm being honest with you guys, the last couple years, I play the game a whole bunch while I'm making sliders for you guys. And then, because no one really kind of watches my uploads after that, I kind of drift out of MLB The Show. I really play it for like the first month that it's out, and then I don't touch it again. This year, it's going to be a lot different. I've been having so much fun playing it on stream, building these sliders. I've been getting a lot more support on stream with these sliders, so we're going to definitely dive in and do a Colorado Rockies franchise and stream that and play that and hopefully have a lot of fun. And really, I hope you guys enjoy these sliders. We're aiming for the most realistic experience you can get. Been getting a lot of positive feedback from my YouTube members who get early access to beta sliders, as well as some members in the Discord who've been doing some testing for me. So very excited to bring you guys these slider sets for you. And by the way, if you haven't already, please go and follow me on Twitch. It is free. It does not cost you a penny. You literally click follow and you will get notified whenever I go live, which I am currently doing full time right now. Monday through Saturday, I have a stream schedule set up that's really going into effect next week. And you can go in and check me out, whether it's the show, Madden, 2K, golf, whatever. We'll have something for you guys. It'll really, really, really help me out. I'm trying to get up to 1,000 followers. I got over 8,000 of you guys here. And so if just 10% of you guys would go and just follow me for free on Twitch, that would really help me out. So anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and get into why you're really here, and that is the sliders from MLB The Show 23. Let's go. Alright guys, so we're going to kind of break down all the settings that I'm using. Now, a lot of these gameplay settings are going to be user preference. A couple of them are not. Of course, we're going to play on simulation game style. Hitting difficulty needs to be on Hall of Fame, and pitching difficulty needs to be on Legend. Those are non-negotiable. If you want tutorial tips, man, or anything like that, you can go ahead and turn it on. Some people want to do auto fielding, auto base running, whatever. You can go ahead and turn that on. That's not going to have an impact on how these sliders play, other than you might experience an error randomly if it's on auto fielding, or you might commit less errors because you're not the one messing up the throw. But that's 100% user preference. I strongly recommend personalized umpire accuracy so you get variances from game to game, as well as, of course, keeping ejections on and umpire close plays to average. This really creates a different feel when you play from game to game rather than having everything the exact same. We don't want to have a stagnant feel to the game. We definitely, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later on how we're going to avoid a stagnant feel. Again, these are all just the rest of these settings are all what I use. I do recommend them, but they are not really mandatory. Now, as far as hitting and pitching goes, I was doing zone hitting. I know zone hitting is what you need for online. However, the Discord really told me that for franchise, directional is where to go. So I made the switch to directional. If you want to use directional, of course, go for it. If you insist on using zone hitting, go for it. You might be a little bit better at zone hitting, and we'll talk about that. If you're a zone hitter, how we can remedy that if you run into that. But otherwise, I also have guest pitch off. If you want it on, I do recommend going no feedback, just so you reduce some of those effects. But a lot of these here, guys, are user preference. Just like for pitching, I'm a pure analog guy. I love the R stick and how you pitch with that. If you want to do classic pitching or metered pitching or pinpoint, go for it. I've heard that these sliders work very, very well with every other pitching setting other than pinpoint. Nobody has really used pinpoint because, again, pinpoint is really what you kind of need for online, but for franchise, not necessarily. If you do use pinpoint, I have a feeling that with the settings you might struggle a little bit. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So just keep that in mind. If you You can use whatever pitch throwing you want, but pinpoint you might struggle just a little bit. Of course, everything else is user preference. I use Strike Zone 2 for my hitting. I know a lot of people like Strike Zone 3. Go for it. Pitching view, I strongly recommend broadcast, especially if you're using pure analog. It's a little bit more realistic. It's also more like you're watching a game, which is kind of cool. Fielding aids, I turn them off. I mean, if you're using these sliders, you shouldn't really need to have these things on. And in fact, I know there's a lot of things that I have on that a lot of you are going to want to turn off because you like the clean screen, which is perfectly fine. These are all just suggestions. A lot of these are not mandatory other than the difficulty levels in the game style. But I like to let you guys see what I'm using, so when you watch me play and you see the experience that I'm playing or having when I play, you fully understand what my setup is. Presentation, again, totally irrelevant, whatever you want to do. I'm literally showing it to you guys because you'd be surprised how often I'm asked what my presentation settings are, my audio settings are from year to year. So just to get it right out of the way, I'm just going to show you guys how I have everything set up. I like to hear the crowd. I love the crowd atmosphere, the PA, so that's what I roll with. Again, do whatever you want here. It's just user preference. So anyway, now it's time to get into the good stuff. The reason you guys are all here is the sliders. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about, dynamic difficulty. We're zeroing that out. The reason why is, although the idea of dynamic difficulty is good, what it ends up doing is creating a situation where every single game is going to feel the same because the gameplay adjusts to how you're performing. So, example. If you go out and beat a team 9-1, you're hitting the ball all over the place, striking them out, guess what? The game's going to adjust, so the very next game's going to feel like a sweat fest. And it's going to make it competitive. It's going to make your hitting harder, your pitching, the CPU's going to hit your pitches more. It's going to adjust. And then what it's going to do is it's going to constantly adjust based on how you play, so you're always going to have like a sweaty game. You're never going to really feel like that separation that you should have if you're playing with a good team or if you're playing a poor team, or just those random games where sometimes even lesser teams beat better teams and they blow them out. They get 8-1, 7-2, whatever. So we don't want dynamic difficulty. We want you to be able to play with your team, and you're not only going to get better as you play, but as you build your team, you should be able to feel that and experience that. I really don't think any of these sliders are really going to need to be changed for you. Obviously, there's two things that can happen. One, as you play the game more, you get better. And as your skill gets better, you will perform better on the field, even if you have the same team. And if that happens to the point where you feel like you're doing too well, we'll talk about how to address that. The other thing is if you just play multiple years and you build your team up, you should feel more success. If you are getting more success strictly because your team is better than what it was, that's natural. So don't worry about that. However, if you feel like you are performing better than you should with the team that you have against your opponents, the main thing that you probably are going to feel like you're succeeding too well with is hitting. I feel like you're not going to succeed too well with pitching. So if that's the case, rather than tweak the sliders, I strongly just suggest increase the pitch speeds. Like if you're hitting the ball way too well, go turn up the speed a little bit. You're going to have less time to see the pitch, to react, and make a proper decision. So if you are getting 12 to 15 hits a game with, one of the worst teams in baseball, a lineup that you shouldn't be getting that kind of hits with, go turn up the pitch speed. Don't go mess with the contact and the timing. I think those are in a really, really good spot, and there's leverage there for you to mess with that pitch speed. I honestly think the CPU is in a really good spot. Now, if you are pitching too well and they are not hitting your pitches at all and you're using pinpoint, probably need to not use pinpoint for franchise, man. Because once you master that, you might be a little too effective to play against the CPU. Obviously, against a user, it's needed. But anyway, guys, those are the sliders. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope you enjoy them. Peace.